This is gonna be my first Light 007 first impression video, and I just want to get into it right away and say that this game is unbelievably fun. This game throws in so many amazing sequences when it comes to gameplay that I could not believe what I was playing when I was playing that specific sequence. I'm just talking about the first 5 hours. You got into an accident and you have to figure out how to survive. The very first sequence is unbelievable. Bond has his first chances of not surviving, .001 or whatever, and he ends up surviving, and that's why he's becoming a recruit of the 00 program. Then they have a sequence where they go into a montage of when you're training, you meet your team, nobody wants you there because you don't have the credentials. They did this in a really cool way where they choose to give you the tutorials in very fast sequences. They get you shooting, then they get you driving, then they get you doing parkour, then they get you doing stealth. Then after that, they give you some small missions where you're supposed to go to certain places, and they basically just focus a lot on the open map where you are, and it's up to you if you want to do that mission in stealth or if you want to go all out. The game doesn't really require you to do one specific way so far. It doesn't require you to only do a stealth. It requires you to just pass the mission, do it however you want, and that's extremely cool because I'm gonna end up playing the game twice. Once I'm finished with the first time, I'm gonna play it in a complete stealth mode, so I'm gonna see if there's actually a difference to that. When it comes to the story, when you talk to the NPCs, you get choices. So you normally have things to get more information, which it's okay. I don't necessarily like that because it just pats out the time that you're talking to the NPC. Sometimes you're talking to an NPC and the NPC doesn't really have much to tell you, but they put some options there in case you want to learn about the world. There's one really cool thing that I like about the game, and it's the hub. The way that you know where your health is, there is no health. You know where your health is based on how blurry the screen gets, how bloody the screen gets. It gets redder the more you take damage, but that's not the best part. The best part is that the hub is actually just your watch. That is incredible to me. You have your watch, which is a compass, and also you have a chemical little icon and then a battery icon, and you do stuff with those things. So anything electrical you can control with your watch, and anything that has to do with chemicals, you can shoot at chemicals to enemies to get them sick so that you can get into a passage that you couldn't get before. I like the way that the missions are. It's very Hitman like. You have the option to just go to the left, get behind some cover, distract an enemy, just go behind them, or you go to the right and you go to the second floor instead, and you go from the top floor to the bottom. It's really cool how different the approaches are when it comes to the missions. When it comes to the combat is actually simple, very simple, but it's punchy. Like, you feel the weight. At the beginning, I thought it was really cool that you only press square to do attacks, and then you press circle to parry, and you press X to avoid grabs. You can grab enemies yourself by pressing R2 and throw them into different places. Now, I do have an issue with the combat, and is even though I am playing on the hardest difficulty, I feel like the enemies are not aggressive enough. So sometimes I do punch, and then I wait for the enemy to punch me because I know that normally when you put a game in hard, they're gonna be really aggressive. They don't. They just wait around, and technically I have to keep on punching them until I see them do a move, and then I do their parry. So you can't really bait the enemies. You can just keep pressing square until you see an animation that the enemies are doing, then you parry, or then you dodge to the sides. But it is very punchy. It is very heavy. Like, you feel the weight of every punch. Even though I have only 5 hours in the game, it does get very repetitive. Every enemy does the same exact move. So far, every enemy has done the same exact thing. Punch, kick, punch. Done. Moment you know that, you are never gonna take damage when it comes to fighting. And when they put a different enemy or an extra enemy into the fight, it's supposed to get harder. It's the same exact combo. You just have to wait for them to do the move, and you already know what they're supposed to do. But also, the difficulty does come from the camera. The camera is horrendous because most times when you're fighting people, the maps are really small. And I don't say the maps overall, but the places where you're fighting, they're small places. They're rooms. They're like even though they're bigger than normal rooms, they're still smaller rooms for the amount of enemies in the room. So when there's more than 2 people, the camera doesn't know where to focus, and if it tries to focus on both people by panning out the camera, it blocks the view based on everything that's around you. Now, when it comes to everything that's around you, it's really cool the fact that you can grab an enemy and throw them into a table and Bond does a finisher. I'm just complaining about the fact that the camera is not too good and the combat is not very innovative, but it is fun and it is punchy and it is really cool. The things that you can pull off when you're pushing enemies to the sides, or when you're pushing enemies to the water when you're in an edge, or you're pushing enemies off of the second floor, it's really cool. When you start the game and you start driving, they give you a car that's supposed to be really fast, and at the beginning you go, oh yeah, this feels okay, the driving is okay, the car is really slow. But then there's a mission that gives you a car where there's actually some speed, some danger behind while you're driving, and it actually felt amazing. Combine it with the music, incredible. I am not a 007 fan. I think I've seen one 007 movie, and I believe it's Nightfall. I like the concept, I like the character, but I cannot say I'm a fan. This game is the perfect introduction to the 007 franchise. I don't care what anybody says. I am having so much fun understanding what the 007 organization is, one, and who James Bond is. At the beginning, they say that he has a lot of charm. They introduce him like that. But in the montage, they don't really show that. So at the beginning, I thought that, you know, they were just saying that he had charm. They weren't showing it. During the missions, you do see how charming he is overall. Like, he's constantly talking to girls or constantly getting in front of girls to flirt with them or get them in bed. They do show it on the montage that he did sleep with one of them, but I thought it was too on the nose until they actually kept the pace of how charming he was. But I want to get back to the best thing that I've seen the game do so far, and is the sequences. If you ever played Uncharted, you will know exactly what I'm gonna talk about. It's basically those sequences where you're playing, you're shooting, and then all of a sudden you get a small cutscene that leads to something else, and then you're shooting and it's accelerating. This game does the exact same thing. There was a moment where I did something in the game that I could not believe the game did, because it jumped from gameplay to cutscene and then back to gameplay, and I couldn't believe how awesome it was. This game is not realistic. It's not supposed to be realistic. You're supposed to forget that this dude is human, because everything he does to the environment around him does not it does not affect them at all. There's a sequence where you're in an airplane and you're controlling the airplane, so you get turbulence. You move the airplane all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and you see the enemies and all of the environmental stuff and items move that way. But your character is just like nothing is happening. You don't see him stumbling around. You don't see him moving to the right when the airplane is moving to the right. No, it's like he is immune to all of that. Now, if there is any explanation as to why he's like that later on in the game, I'll put it in the review. But so far, he's just a regular human. The story so far, I'm liking it a lot. The fact that there's deaths in the game, I like the fact that they don't shy away from killing characters. They don't shy away from you getting the license to kill. That was a really cool way for them to say, yo, kill people. When you get to the point where you're gonna start shooting, they give you the notice of license to kill. That was cool to me. Like, I've never seen that before, and I'm pretty sure that's a reference to the movies or the media that they showed before when it comes to James Bond. In the gameplay, there is a lot of downtime, and the downtime comes from you investigating what you're supposed to do. Normally they would tell you, find this person, so you have to go around just like Hitman. It's basically the same exact thing. They give you a big ass palace and they go find this person. You go around, you start listening to people having a conversation about the things that happen around them, and then you go based on what they say. You don't necessarily have to do that. You could find the person without listening to randoms around. When it comes to secrets, like, there's rooms that you can find secrets in, or you can find resources, and I do have an issue with these resources. The resources are basically non-existent. Normally when you go into a room, they let you open drawers, and there's nothing in the drawers, so there is no reason for them to have most of the drawers be able to open. In some rooms you do find collectibles or things that you could collect to get a piece of story, but most of the drawers that I've opened so far, there's nothing inside them, so there was no reason to put that mechanic in. It's just useless. But overall, I am having a very fun time. I'm having a really good time playing this game, because I am remembering Uncharted. I am remembering everything I played when it comes to Uncharted. Every time I'm shooting a gun, I'm like, yeah, this is very Uncharted like this game lets you shoot people on the legs so they can fall over. They makes you shoot people on the hands so they can get disarmed and you don't have to kill them. I don't know if this is gonna come into place later on when you don't have to kill, but it's up to you if you want to kill them with a headshot, or you want to shoot them in the hand so they lose their weapon, or you want to, you know, cripple them by shooting them on the legs. I don't necessarily know what's implied here. I don't know if there's a mechanic that is gonna ask you later on to pass a mission where you don't kill anyone, or if there's any replayability when it comes to the main missions where after you play the game, they ask you to do these missions a certain way. But the option is there for you to pass the missions however you want, and I think that's really cool. To end the video, this game is really fun. I'm liking everything it has, but it does have issues. It is not a perfect game, and when it comes to performances, I haven't had any issues. I'm playing on the PS5 Pro, and sadly, we do not have any performances settings. We don't have PS5 Pro mode. We don't have quality or performance mode. This is set into something very specific. You go into the game, and it gives you a preset already. If you're interested in this game, you still have questions, drop them on the comments. I'll answer them. If you like videos like this, whenever a new game comes out, I normally do first impression videos, and then when I pass the game, I beat it again so that I can play in 2 different ways to see if I missed anything, and then after that I do a review. If you're interested in that, subscribe. But anyways, if you're interested in another video, try this video out. I'm talking about the Prince of Persia, and sadly we're not getting a remake, so if you want to play a Prince of Persia game, you probably might want to buy that one. I would 100% recommend it. Watch the video.